All right, welcome everyone to our December home and school meeting. Thanks for joining tonight. I think Nina is going to be sharing in the chat our sign-in sheet. So if you could just fill that out whenever you get a second, she'll probably send it a couple times so that everyone as they sign on can do that. We've got a packed meeting, so I'm going to start right away. Um, just so you know, this is our agenda. We are very lucky to have our interim president joining us tonight. So he will be introducing himself. And then our wonderful AP Myrick is going to be giving us some school updates. And then that will give you guys an opportunity. If you have any questions, you can put it in the chat and then we can share those out. Okay. Um, all right. I think everyone who needs to be on is on. So why don't we start with our school update?
Okay, I see my name up here, so I guess I'll introduce myself. I'm Ed Koch, the interim president at Central. Very happy to be at Central. I am in year 49 with the school district. So I actually retired after 35 and came back. Since then, I've run Edison, Mass Bomb. My most recent school has been Fells. Very excited to be at Central. I see many familiar names online. I think some of us I know quite well. I'm available 24/7. My email is ekoch, EKOCH at Phila. So feel free to reach out anytime if you're in the area. I believe in an open door policy. So you are always welcome to stop by. If you come over lunchtime, I'll treat to lunch. And I won't use central funds. I'll use my own funds. So keep it honest. So again, thank you for having me. I'm actually a South Philly high school graduate. I don't want to tell you what year, but very happy to be on board, and I'll be glad to answer any questions anyone may have.
I say we all take Ed up on that offer and all get lunch from him. Good evening. My name is Walter Myrick. I am the ninth grade assistant principal, and this is my first year at Central. I'm also an alum. My class number is 251, and I'll be going over some data points for the first marking period, as well as giving some brief updates about what's been going on at Central since we came back in August. Next slide, please. So this data right here is our attendance. It's pulled from Click. And what Click does is give us data that is on the school level. And as you can see here, we are doing well with attendance. So the SDP percentage of students attending 90% or more days is 71.1%. We're well above that in all of our grades, 9th through 12th. So thank you to all of our families for getting your kids to school. One of the big things about attendance is to make sure that when your students are absent, we need to get the absence notes in. So what happens is sometimes your kid might be sick, there may be a family issue, and you forget to send that note in. That's a legitimate reason to be out of school. But if we don't get the note, we can't code that as excuse. So can you click on one more slide? There should be some infographics on this slide. Thank you, Esther. So if it is not excused, it comes up as a red two in our system. When we pull students to have a talk about grades or anything that's happening in school, we will let kids know when they don't have those excused. So please always be sure to send those notes in to your child's advisor. Make sure the day they return to school, they bring those notes in. We'll get those absences coded for you because that way, if your student is absent, they're allowed to make up any work that they missed when they were not in school. So it could be a doctor's appointment, dentist appointment, anytime they're sick, college visit, family emergencies. If you're unsure of whether or not it counts as an excused absence, you can always send the notes in, and the advisors will reach out to the grade level AP. I'm ninth grade, Dr. Scott is 10th, Mr. Smith is 11th, Miss Snyder is 12th, and we'll be sure to make sure that those are coded the appropriate way so that your kids don't have unexcused absences. Next slide, please. So for the percentage of students who are on track in ninth through 12th grade, if you look at the slide, so the blue are the kids who are firmly on track to be able to graduate. And what on track in the district means is that they're on track to get the 23.5 credits to graduate in 4 years. What we do as an admin team is we meet periodically to look at grades, what things are happening within the grades. We pull grade reports from teachers, and we really work to make sure that we're providing all the school level support so that students are on track to graduate because we don't want kids to go to summer school, and we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can at the school level to make sure that students are able to be successful in Central, graduate on time, and go on to college if they so choose to do, and be successful in college. Specifically for ninth grade on track, we want to make sure that they're starting off their high school career with the credits that they'll need to graduate in 4 years. And what on track means for ninth grade is getting that credit in the four core subject areas: English, math, science, and social studies. So once again, it's important to make sure that when your students are absent, you send those notes in so that they're able to make up the work that they missed if they were out. Because if it's an unexcused absence, it sometimes might be a cut. And if the absence is not excused, they're not able to make that work up. So attendance, being in class to get the work done, it all goes hand in hand to make sure that we are able to keep our students firmly on track. Students who are in the red, we have grade level and school level things to make sure that they are able to get where they need to be, but it's always a joint effort between teachers, administration, and families. Next slide, please. Community service hours. So there are lots of things to do at Central where students can get those hours that are required across the grades. So you can look at the slide right here. And for ninth and 10th grade, there need to be 15 hours submitted by January 3rd, 2024. You can see the requirements for 11th and 12th grade. There are community service hours that do happen within the school. We have the open house tours. There are other events in our school building. Students need to go to the sponsor of that event, have their hours logged, and have those hours signed off. If your students are doing any work outside of school, please make sure that they get a letter from that organization on letterhead that describes what they did, what the hours were, and we require that the community service hours are from a nonprofit organization. So every student did receive a handbook, and in that, it's a nice little book that everybody got back in August, if I'm correct. So in that handbook are all the requirements for community service and what students need to do. We're in the process of getting those things out for kids who work with us over the summer for orientations, for kids who did open house tours for prospective families. But community service hours are a requirement at Central High School, and they do need to submit those hours to reflect what they've done for community service. Here are some of the sports that are currently happening or about to start at Central. Once again, we did not defeat Northeast at the Turkey Bowl over Thanksgiving. There's always next year, but one of our big things at Central is our sports. And if you ever come to the school after dismissal, the school is buzzing with students who are practicing, enjoying their sports, but also to tie it back to academics, you have to be eligible to play a sport and to stay on the team. And the eligibility requirements are also in the handbook. And we do look at that as an admin team to determine who's not eligible because academics do come first. And we always try to make sure that students have a chance to get back on eligibility. So that works at the admin level also. But everything your kids need to know about eligibility and what we talked about is in that handbook that was passed out in August, and that people and if students don't have one, I've got a box in my office. There's a box in the main office. So we do have those handbooks available in the school building. Next slide, please. I'm going to pass it over to Mr. P and AP Snyder to discuss IB and advanced placement.
Real quick before we do that, if you have any questions regarding the president's report, if you could just stick in the chat. I did see one that said, "What does the orange mean on the on track for graduation slide?"
Do you want to go back a few
Yeah, sure. Let me,
and
hold
say
on.
it? Orange is on track. And if I'm wrong, AP Snyder, please correct me.
Yep.
Blue is firmly on track.
Yep. And Mr. Myrick, I can show on what I'm going to share, kind of the color coding with grade breakdowns, like A's, B's, C's, D's. So that's something that I can touch on as well.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I don't think anyone else had a question, but thanks for your presentation. So I'm going to stop sharing, right? And AP Snyder, are you going to share or?
Yeah, I'm going to share if that's okay.
Okay, I think I need to make you. Um, there we go. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. Give me 1 second here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to start before sharing, and then I'll get started. Hi, all. Great to be here with all of you. My name is Avi Snyder. Based on looking around at these names, I think I have probably emailed or spoken to most of you, but it is great to be here. So I do a lot of things at Central over the course of the past 10 years being here. But I think for the purposes of this meeting, I'm going to focus on our AP or advanced placement course offerings. We are super lucky to have Nick Palazzolo here, who runs our IB program. So he's going to touch on that. So I will focus on AP, and then also I can answer any questions. I believe the next home and school meeting will focus on subject selection and roster and picking classes. So that's not something we're going to touch on today. But please know, just because I know, especially for our ninth grade parents, we can be anxious or excited for this process, but it does not take place until mid-February, and students will have assemblies, meetings, office hours, etc. Lots of support throughout that process. Okay, now I'm going to share my screen, and I'm just going to show a couple different things. So, give me 1 second here. Okay, can everyone see these three charts? Give me a little thumbs up. Okay, so these three charts, so Mr. Myrick brought up Click. This is a really interesting thing that we have available to us in the school district. It's a data collection website. And what's so special about Click is that it actually gathers data live. So this updates every 24 hours. So what you're seeing is actually live information. So I wanted to show you this because I thought it was very interesting. So before I get started about AP, I wanted to talk about these color breakdowns. So 52.5% of Central students earn all A's and B's. I thought that would be something you would be interested in seeing. When you look at this color chart, you'll notice here, the dark blue represents A's. So you'll see here, this is broken down by core subjects. So 42.6% of our Central students, 9 through 12, earn A's in English, 42% in math, 38% in science, and 61% in social science or social studies. And this, you'll see, it's fairly consistent subject to subject. And you'll see here, when we look at each color, it represents A, light blue is B, gray is C, orange is a D, and red is an F. And you'll notice the highest percent of Fs is 3%. So while obviously we, never ever want a student failing, our percentages are fairly low. And remember, this is live. So when we talk about failures and D's and C's for the year, it's actually much smaller than this. Many less students would fail a class for the year than they would be currently in a quarter grade. So here, another thing that you'll see here that I thought was really interesting is it quantifies the chart that Mr. Myrick showed. So 87.5% are currently considered to be on track. And really what that just means is they have no D's or F's. That's what's considered to be on track in terms of core classes. And then the last thing, which is the perfect segue into the AP discussion or advanced placement discussion, is you'll see this chart here. It says 66.2% of our central students are enrolled in at least one advanced course. And what that means is honors, AP, and IB. This number is actually far higher than this. And that is because we do not offer AP or IB or really honors except for math in ninth grade. So if I had Mr. Zach here, our math department chair, he could do this. I am not smart enough to do this in my head. But basically, if you remove a quarter of our students don't count for this 66%. So it's actually a much higher number, which is something that I really love to see. What you'll notice here is we have about 45% of our central students in an honors course. This is one or more, 38% in an AP course, and 14% in an IB course. And again, this really doesn't, ninth grade is going to be pulling at 0 for all of these. So it's actually a much higher, more inflated number. Any questions on this before I switch gears to really focusing on our advanced placement offerings?
I guess this is more just for everyone to know in case our ninth grade students. There are IB courses that you don't have to be an IB to take, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And Mr. Palazzolo is going to talk all about that. But yeah, so we have an IB diploma program. So that's all IB courses, 6 IB courses in junior year, 6 IB courses in senior year. But then we also offer over 100 other students courses. We have electives, all sorts of cool options for students who don't want to do the entire diploma program, but want exposure to IB classes.
Thank you. And I don't see anything in the chat.
Perfect. Okay, I'm going to reshare and now we'll get to the AP. So I actually, pre Mr. Palazzolo, I was the IB coordinator for many, many years. So I always want to default to answering questions, but Mr. P is doing such a wonderful job, I don't need to. So I will focus on AP. So for those of you who don't know, AP stands for Advanced Placement. Advanced Placement is a type of course offered by the College Board. So the College Board is a multi-bajillion-dollar company. They also run the SAT, the ACT, etc. So it is a big company that is US based. So there are not AP or advanced placement courses outside of the US to my knowledge. So we offer, if you see here, I made a little handy dandy chart, and I can also share a link to this document in the chat in case anyone wants access to it. But I made this chart and just tried to break down what courses we offer, who can take them, what credits they fill, and what is required in order to take them. So as you'll see here, we offer 26 advanced placement courses. I can say with confidence that Central High School has the largest advanced placement and international baccalaureate catalog in the city, if not the state. We offer a lot of classes at Central. So what you'll see here, and I think this is the most important thing to realize, is that different classes are designated for each grade. So I broke it down by 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade. Many of these classes you can take in both, or in all three, and that usually designates whether or not it's an elective or it's a core class. So a core class, what that means is that it is required for graduation, meaning a student must take 4 years of English in order to graduate from Central High School or any high school in the school district of Philadelphia. So a course that only has one grade level, chances are it is a core class. So I'll start with the first course you see here. It says AP English Language, and it says 11th grade. This is a core class, meaning it replaces the traditional English 3 class. So when we do subject selection, I do share, or we all share, we have a large subject selection guide. This stuff can also be found on our website, where it really gives more in-depth explanations of what is entailed with each of these courses. But in short, advanced placement courses, the goal is to provide students with a college level course experience. So advanced placement courses are going to move quickly. They are going to cover a lot of content, and they culminate in an exam that takes place in May. So every single AP class culminates in an exam. There are a few exceptions that are portfolio based, such as AP Studio Art and AP Research. But there is always some sort of culminating thing that contributes to your AP score. And this is very similar to IB that Mr. P is going to talk about. But basically, colleges will look at obviously the grades you earn in school. That's going to be captured on a report card or a transcript. But separate from that, and they are two separate things, you will earn an AP score. So your score on that exam, you'll get a score and it's 1 to 5. So a 5 is considered the highest you can get. A 1 is the lowest. A 3 is considered to be passing. But colleges are going to vary greatly in what they accept for credit. So I'll give you an example. University of Pennsylvania might accept, they might, they want you to take these courses, but they might not give credit to a student for earning even a 5 on certain AP exams. Like I know, for instance, AP Gov, UPenn recently said, you know what? It's great you're taking it. We'd love to see you're challenging yourself, but you still have to take the social studies prerequisites at Penn. But on the other hand, Temple University might say if you earn a 4 or a 5 on the AP Gov exam, you can skip ahead in political science courses. So it's really going to vary greatly from college to college. So I always encourage students when they're thinking about their classes to look at admissions websites, because every single school is going to be very, very clear about what they will accept. And it'll literally give you a chart. You need to earn a 4 in this, a 3 in this, a 6, 5 in this, etc. So there is no blanket policy. But what I will say is these courses do certainly prepare students to learning at the college level because they are rigorous. They are, include a lot of hands-on work. AP in the past was criticized for being too memorization heavy, but they have definitely worked over the years to try to differentiate and bring in more hands-on labs in science, more portfolio writing in classes like AP Seminar, AP Research, but each class is going to differ. One other thing about AP courses is that it is a la carte. And what I mean by that is a student can take one AP course and the rest of their classes can be regular or honors or IB. They could take 2, 3, 4. So it's it is really good. I find AP courses for kids who really want to specialize in one area. Let's say you're a real STEM kid and you love science and you want to take, so sophomore year, you want to take AP Physics 1. Junior year, you want to take AP Chemistry. Senior year, you want to take AP Bio. You want to take AP Computer Science. You can do that while taking regular English, regular history. Mr. P is going to focus on the IB program, and that's going to provide a little bit more of a well-rounded, and that's not to put AP down, but that's going to be where you're taking all of your courses at the IB level. You still can specialize, but AP is really good for those very specific and focused students who really want to build their schedule in a very specific way. I do want to apologize. I have 2 young kids, and if you hear them crying in the background, that is because it is bedtime, and they tend to not like that. So I apologize if you hear anything. But I promise you this door will stay closed and you will have my undivided attention. So The way it works in terms of AP courses is a student must earn an 80 or higher in previous classes in that specific subject. So, for instance, if a student wants to take AP pre-calculus, they must earn an 80% or higher in their prior math courses. So that means if they started Algebra 1 or Algebra 2, and then geometry, they must earn an 80% or higher. We do not test we do not require students to take exams. In the past, Central did, but that's when we offered far less sections. So when I first came to Central, we might have one or two sections. We have drastically expanded our AP and IB, but AP offerings. We have over 1,700 AP exams being offered this May, and we have 1,000 students taking one or more AP courses. So, one question that we'll get is, how can we expand? How can we expand? We want more sections. I'll kind of explain this as best I can. So, this past year, so for this summer, we were able to successfully place every student who met criteria in all but three of our AP courses. This doesn't include if there was a schedule conflict. Let's say a student wanted to take two courses that only met at the same time. But if a student wanted to take it, it fit in their schedule and they qualified. The only courses we were not able to place every single student was AP biology. There were maybe 3 or 4 students who didn't make it in the course because of space restrictions, and AP statistics. And if I could find it on my chart. So the reason why a student might not, and I will post this link so everyone can look at this. The reason why, there are many reasons why we can't offer unlimited amounts of sections. So a lot of times we'll have parents say things, and I love it, and the intention is so wonderful. What can we do to get you to be able to offer more sections? And they'll say, we'll fundraise, we'll give you money. And I'm like, that's so wonderful. But unfortunately, it's not nearly that simple. So the way that it works when building a roster is that we have to have enough teachers to fulfill our graduation requirements. So on that chart, there are a lot of electives. I'll give an example. AP European History is a really popular 10th grade elective. We only have one section, and we'll have parents be like, we want more. One thing I will say is everyone who wanted to take AP Euro and qualified got in the class. So it's not that we had a surplus. But the reason why we're unable to just add a section is because we need that teacher to teach. So each teacher teaches a maximum of 5 classes per day. We need that teacher, the teacher who likes teaching AP Euro, who is certified in teaching AP Euro. We need him to teach other courses that fulfill graduation requirements. So it's kind of like a delicate game. We can only have as many electives as we have available teachers to teach the classes that get kids to graduate. So that's kind of one constraint. Another constraint is, and this is a good thing, we want our teachers to be happy and satisfied. Teachers get to pick what they teach. Not like we have some say, but at Central, we really respect our teachers. So if a teacher says, I love teaching AP English, but I'm not teaching more than 2 or 3 subjects, it's too much work. And that's true. There is more reading and more writing and more grading in an AP or IB class than a standard class. The students complete more work. So if a teacher says, I'm only teaching 2 sections, I don't want 5, it's too much work for me, we do respect that at Central. So we offer as many sections as we can in a given year, and it's going to fluctuate drastically based on demand. So for instance, last year, if you could see on my chart, which I had before, right currently we have 5 sections of AP Lang. Last year we had 10. And that's only because more students wanted to take that course. So it's gonna fluctuate quite drastically based on available teachers for core credit graduation courses, but then also student demand. So, we never ever want to say to a student, you can't take this course, but it is possible. We do our very best to make it work. I'm sure many of you have emailed me. I try in the roster office to be as responsive as possible in as quick of a manner as possible. But part of, going to a school where you saw those numbers, it said 62% of our kids, but really it's probably closer to 80% since we're removing ninth grade. Um, we have a different level of demand than any other school in the school district of Philadelphia. There are some schools that are begging or forcing students to take upper level courses. It's a good thing at Central, that is never going to be an issue. Our kids want all the challenge. Sometimes we actually have to say to them, hey, this is too much. I always say to students, especially in 10th grade, go slow. The jump from ninth grade to 10th grade can be very dramatic just in terms of rigor. So I always say, like, please go slow. 1, 2, 3 at most AP courses in 10th grade because it's a big jump. In ninth grade, the workload is smaller. So I always try to work with kids to get them to move slowly and thoughtfully because they do have 4 years to take these courses. One last thing I will say is we do try to prioritize seniors, and I know that can cause frustration in some of those really popular classes like AP Statistics and AP Bio that I mentioned. But the reason we prioritize seniors is because we want to make sure they get a chance to take that course before they graduate. The other students can take that course in any year, junior or senior year. So I know that is a ton of information. I'm going to quickly just paste this link in the chat in case anyone wants this document. There it is. But basically, AP courses are wonderful, right? They're going to prepare kids extremely well. But one thing I always like to make sure is that you as a parent are having those conversations with your students, checking in. So these are the questions I always ask a student when I meet with them. And they say, like, Miss Snyder, should I take AP United States history? So I always ask 3 questions. 1, do you like history? 2, how much do you like history? And 3, are you okay spending between, 40 and 50 minutes a night on history? Really having to prioritize studying, working, reading, writing, etc. If the answer to those questions is yes, 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 done. You should absolutely take that course. But if a student's like, well, I kind of think history is boring. I've never really liked a social studies class before, but I heard it's really good on my college transcript. I always say, like, I don't think this is a good idea. And there are some of our kids are so brilliant, they'll be fine. Even if they don't like it, they'll still be fine. But for the most part, it is not a good experience if a kid isn't at least somewhat passionate, engaged, and excited about a subject. Because the idea behind an AP course is that you want to specialize, right? You have some sort of aptitude in that area. So that's just the questions I always ask. I will never discourage a student from trying. I always want a kid to try. We always say, please at least take one before you graduate, AP or IB or honors. Like, you deserve that. But then there are some kids who are just honest with themselves and say, like, no, it's not for me. Central's hard enough. And we say, great, you're doing awesome. So that's kind of it. I know it's quite a bit of information, but I'd be happy to answer any questions now before we turn over to Mr. P for International Baccalaureate.
So we did have a couple questions in the chat. Some of them
Sure.
are already answered, but I think one to highlight is, are all of the AP electives offered every year?
Not necessarily. We haven't lost a course in a while, which is great. So sometimes a course can disappear if a teacher leaves the district, retires, because a lot of these courses are really specialized. So, like, for instance, we used to have AP microeconomics, but then the teacher moved on. He actually is our tech leader at the school, and he's amazing, and we need him every minute of the day. He can't be teaching courses, right? He literally runs the technology for the entire school. So that course kind of went away. Doesn't mean it won't come back, but we don't have another teacher who wants to teach it. So it can, but we've been pretty consistent now for a few years and we've only gained. So, like, this year we brought back AP Computer Science A. So we're always trying to, like, pick up the courses that we didn't have. I see a great question. It looks like ninth graders can't take AP classes. Could you please talk that through? Yes, that's a great question. So at Central, that is just something that we have always done. we find that because we have, 600 plus kids coming from schools all across the city, we really like our ninth graders to have not a uniform, that's not the right word, but a meaningful ninth grade year where they can really focus on building relationships, joining clubs, joining sports, being in the plays. And we find that many of our ninth graders need time to develop emotionally before they can be thrust into a class that fast. Because we offer so many other options, we have never once found that a ninth grader doesn't thrive, right? Like we had 40 plus students get into UPenn and we had Harvard and MIT and Princeton, et cetera, all the wonderful, most impressive schools. We have never once received negative feedback from like an admissions department. Your ninth graders need it on their transcript. I am not saying that our ninth graders couldn't be successful, but we find that the best way for our students to really thrive and acclimate and learn what it means to be a high school student in one of the most rigorous high schools in the state is to start at our college prep level, which is still going to be more advanced than any other school.
So I think that's a good segue into this other question was, does having AP courses look better or carry more weight on college applications? And the comparison is to a regular course.
So, I mean, yes, I want to be honest, having an AP or IB course, because both AP and IB are going to be viewed the same from an admissions director, and we do weight our classes accordingly. So, a student's going to earn more GPA weight for an AP or IB course than they would in honors, and then that's going to be more than they would in a standard college prep course. So, yes, it will look more impressive, but what I always say is a college would much rather see an A in a standard class than a C or a D in an AP or IB course. So you always want to think about like, what am I good at? What can I handle? Because just having those courses isn't isn't enough. Okay. Um, Not sure if you covered this or plan to. Yes, so students will have plenty of support in the subject selection process. So basically, I personally do an assembly for every single grade level. I film it, I share it, and then I offer office hours every single day. So I usually do 2 weeks after school in the auditorium for any student who wants like one-on-one support, and they drop in. So I promise you, ninth graders will not be like on their own picking their classes. We really support them. I do find that our uppers, our older students don't really need much support because the process is the same and has been the same. So usually after that ninth grade year, they're pretty good. But occasionally you'll get some upper level students or older students who want some more hands-on support. Did I miss any other ones, Esther?
No, I think that's it. And just with that also, AB Snyder will thankfully be with us again in January and talk more about course selection, and she'll show where you can find on the website because there's a lot of information on the school website on all of this, what classes are available, descriptions, all of that. So yeah.
Yeah, you'll be lucky. You get to see like 5 years of videos of me. You can see my progression over the past 5 years of filming a very awkward 45-minute videos. So, it's a real treat if you have a lot of time on your hands. Feel free to explore our Central High School website. But with that said, thank you. Feel free to email me. I'll type my email in the chat. Like I said, I pride myself on being responsive. So please feel free to reach out if you ever have any questions specifically about AP, roster, subject selection, etc. I always say, like in a school as big as Central, it's never going to be perfect in terms of getting everyone everything they want. But we really do try our best. And you got to, so, okay, one more question. So there's no difference between AP African American Studies and African American History. So there is a difference. Both fulfill the same core graduation requirement, but AP African American Studies is going to move faster, and it's going to be more of a research, writing, reading based course. So it's going to be more intensive in terms of workload and depth of material. So in an AP African Studies class, they're going to read more scholarly work. Please put the history one on the spreadsheet. Oh no, so African American history is not an AP course. We only offer AP African American studies. African American history is our standard course, and then we also have an honors one. So no worries. It's a lot. I've been doing this a long time and I still mess it up all the time. So anyway, feel free to reach out to me anytime you need it. And please like encourage your students to come and meet us, like Mr. Myrick, Mr. Koch, Mr. P. Like we're all around, waiting for kids to like want to come by and have conversations with us. Nothing makes me happier than when a student just shows up in my office and says, like, hey, I'm Jack. Like, just thought I should introduce myself. That makes me, and I know I could speak for Mr. Myrick and Mr. Koch, like very, very happy. So
It's
with that said,
never a bother when your students come and talk to us. We love helping them navigate Central High School. Sorry to cut you off, Miss Snyder.
oh, please, you nailed it. I was gonna say, with that said, I'm gonna go put my students. Wow, I'm really in school mode. That I'm gonna put my students to bed. But what I meant to say are my children. One more question. Did you cover the AP seminar and AP research? I didn't, but I can. That's fine. AP seminar and AP research, they are elective courses. They are not core graduation requirements, but they are a part of what's called a capstone program. So the capstone program was actually AP's response to the International Baccalaureate program. So basically, it was trying to create more of a holistic program. It's still very different because it's again, it's a la carte. So basically, students have to take four other AP courses and earn a score of 3 or higher, and then they can also take AP seminar and AP research. So AP seminar typically takes place in 11th grade. It is a very research heavy class. There is no exam, but it is very focused on writing and reading, and students will focus on a particular topic. We offer, this year we have two. We have an Asian American Studies focus, and we have an African diaspora focus. Students will really dive deep and they'll read a lot of primary source material, historiography, etc. Um, and then that sets you up for AP research. So in the first year AP seminar, you're doing research on other people's work. And then AP research, it's usually when you're a senior, you pick a topic of your own and you do like graduate level, thesis level research. Um, these classes tend to be quite small. I'm not sure why they're just not as popular as some of our others. I think our AP research class is about 12 students, but it's actually really cool because it is a very personalized experience because it is a little class and the kids will pick a topic. I've seen anything from opportunity gaps in public education to I'm blanking, but lots of interesting higher level topics that kids will study. So those are actually two classes where there are no AP exams. They're project based. And it's a lot of writing. So I recommend students who take those courses should really be okay putting pen to paper because there's a lot of it.
Avi, if I may, I tried to find a way to raise my hand and I can't figure out how.
Don't worry.
But just to those parents of like who are new to Central, speaking from experience, I cannot talk enough about how helpful Ms. Snyder and Mr. P and everyone is with your students through this whole process. My daughter goes to them all the time and is very, very anxious about these things, and they're just wonderful. So just rest assured, even though it's a huge school, you almost feel like you have a personal relationship with everyone.
That is very sweet. Thank you. But yeah, basically just like you got to encourage the self-advocating just because again, like if you don't come, it's hard for us to find you. But if you do, you'll get personalized one-on-one help. Okay. I think I'm good. Nick, it's your turn.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Miss Snyder. I'm going to share my screen here. All right. Are folks able to see the slides?
Yep.
Awesome. All right. So, hi, everyone. I'm going to talk about Central's International Baccalaureate Diploma Program. This photo was taken at our end of the year summer celebration last year. It's a mix of all three cohorts at the time, which was the incoming, newly selected cohort 285, now the juniors, the rising seniors, now seniors, and the outgoing graduates. So my name's Nick Palazzolo. Students usually know me as Mr. P. This is my second year coordinating the IB program. I've been teaching IB history for 7 years at Central. I'm just going to go over the diploma program briefly, share a little bit about what classes are available to your students, uh, give you all the kind of advice I give my sophomores who are thinking about applying about how they can decide whether IB is right for them or not. And then I'll go over the application process with you all as well, so you're familiar with it. These are just some additional photos. IB is known for being quite the rigorous, challenging program, but we also have a lot of fun because one of the distinguishing features of the IB program is that it is a cohort-based model. So you are with 60 other students, junior and senior year, and that creates a lot of camaraderie and a really strong learning community. We're gearing up for our winter break party next Friday as well. Before this meeting, I was just putting together our secret Santa, secret friend sort of activity, getting everybody paired with somebody. So we do a lot of fun stuff throughout the year. But let me get into the nuts and bolts of the program. So the IB diploma program, like I said, is a 2-year program. As someone asked earlier, can you take IB classes without being in the diploma program? There are several IB electives that students can take without being in the diploma program. What I'm going to talk about specifically is this 2-year kind of cohort program. The IB started in 1968. It's in over 150 different countries. A good chunk, about 50% of diploma students are in the United States. So even though it's in 150 countries, the US has the largest number of IB students. And its mission is holistic. It's not just about the academic classroom. It's about the connection between that learning and the greater world. So its mission is to develop inquiring, knowledgeable, caring young people, help create a better, more peaceful world. Right. So it's about connecting those things. I'll highlight something else in a second. So there are 3 core component parts of the program. No matter where you are on this map, if you are in an IB diploma program, you are doing these 3 things. So the first is something called the extended essay. It's housed within a class called Theory of Knowledge, and students start working on it their junior year and continue their senior year. It's a long-term, in-depth study of a very focused topic in a subject chosen by the students, designed for students to choose a subject they have some expertise in, or they are going to maybe take senior year. They can choose a topic junior year if they're going to take that subject senior year. There are some other, subjects they can do their EE in, their extended essay in, without taking them at Central. We have a student doing economics course at Penn. He can do an economics extended essay because he's built that expertise, right? This is the high school version of like a master's thesis or an undergrad thesis or a dissertation, right? It's the high school version of that. It's probably the most rigorous scholarly aspect of the program, and it's intimidating at first to students. It's a 4,000 word paper. A lot of our students have used their extended essays as like writing samples in their college applications, and even though it's a challenging process, students kind of look back on it and like, wow, I did that. So and if I had some of the students here sharing the topics with you, I'm sure a lot of us would be scratching our heads with some of the really focused topics that they do. So it's a cool opportunity. The Theory of Knowledge course is a course that explores the nature of inquiry in each discipline. So it's not about learning a particular subject. It's rather about kind of a little bit more philosophical. It's about thinking about, well, what does it mean to learn in the arts or in the humanities or in the sciences? And how do we know what we know? It's a course that cultivates a healthy skepticism about the knowledge that we think we hold. And then there's a component that happens outside the classroom called creativity activity service. Most of your students are already doing one of these three threads. Maybe they're a tutor or a big sibling, that's service. Maybe they're an athlete or, just go on bike rides with their friends, that's activity. Maybe they're in theater or, choir or, something like that, and that's creativity. So they have to kind of reflect on those activities. Our CAS coordinator has them kind of reflect on their engagement in the world beyond the classroom. And it replaces those community service requirements that Mr. Myrick was talking about earlier for junior and senior year if you're in the IB program. What classes are available to students? So these are the six subjects offered to our, sorry, subject groups, right, offered. And then we have a wide range, over 20 different individual courses. What does the 2 years look like? Well, all students take 2 years of theory of knowledge. All students have to have lunch rostered into their schedule. So that blocks out those, out of a 7-period day, that blocks out a couple of sections. All students will have 2 years of IB literature and 2 years of IB history, right? After that, that's where students have choice, right? The reason we have to have 2 years of IB literature and history is because it's a state and district requirement that students have 4 years of English, 4 years of history. So students will take that at what the IB calls the higher level. It's a 2-year course. After that, students do have to have 1 year of math in the IB diploma program, 1 year of a science, and 2 years at of a language at the IB level. And then there's an opportunity to take an elective in any of these subjects. Our electives tend to come from the social studies offering, psychology, philosophy, global politics, and anthropology, the sciences, if students want to take more than one, right? We have biochemistry, environmental, astronomy. Physics, students are placed in the AP physics class because we never have enough to have our own IB class, but the AP physics teachers are IB certified as well. So students are able to take the IB exam having taken the AP physics class, and they get some support from that teacher on their project that's IB specific, but the AP physics students in their class would not be doing. Or the arts. Those are kind of, so there's a lot of electives. If anyone has questions that are more particular about, how students choose class, I can always go into that later. So there's, some requirements that look the same for everybody and some choices. Yeah, I'll keep going. This is a slide where I go over stuff with students if they have particular questions about what their junior or senior year look like. So I'm going to kind of skip that for us. What is the IB diploma? Sometimes folks have questions about that. It has nothing to do with the central high school diploma. Students don't find out if they get their IB diploma until after graduating central. Because the scores aren't released until July that summer. Students earn the IB diploma by satisfying all of the IB requirements, including the IB core, which is extended essay, theory of knowledge, and CAS, that creativity activity service. They have to complete the requirements for that, but that doesn't count towards that 45 points, which is why there's an asterisk there. They take their 6 subjects. 3 or 4 of those subjects they will take for 2 years long, and a couple of them they'll take for 1 year, which is why some of our IB juniors take exams junior year. If they're taking IB chemistry, they'll take that at the standard level, and that would be an exam they take junior year. If they're in their 1-year math course at the standard level, they would take that junior year. But most of our exams are taken during the student's senior year. The internal assessments on there are the long-term projects. This is the part about IB that I really love, and it's the part that AP has started to adopt with their AP seminar and things like that. It is the part where students get to demonstrate their knowledge over time and in process. It's a project supported by that teacher. Every subject requires one, and students do that project. They get to design their own research question and pursue that question using the methods of the subject, right? So to go back to our subjects, let's say an IB chemistry internal assessment, students would have to design the research question, use the scientific method, and design their own lab. Psychology, they would have to replicate a study and perform that study on their peers. In IB history, they have to design their own historical research question that different historians disagree on the answer, and they have to come to their own conclusion, right? In world language, it's an oral interview recorded, right? So there are, they have to do something that really requires that subject. The music and arts curriculum are there's no timed exam for those. Those are entirely portfolio-based demonstrations of their, exhibits of their art, or recordings of their musical pieces. Okay, so how does Central do? I figured I'd share with you all last year's results. We had 56 students take the complete the IB, take the exams for the IB diploma. We had 48 students earn the diploma. That's a 86% earned diploma rate. Worldwide last year was 80.1%. So we are over 5% above the world average, which is pretty cool. We had 198 students take IB exams last year. Most of those students were taking, like about 100 or so of those students were taking it as certificate students. They were not in the diploma program. They were taking IB courses as electives. I have some quotes from IB alumni. I'll just highlight the themes. Students tend to really love the community aspect. It's a smaller learning community. There's always a few students who find that intimidating. They're like, oh no, will I like lose my friends outside of IB? Or, it's too small. That's a little scary. Most students tend to really love that. And a lot of students tend to maintain friendships outside of IB. So it's not too insular. And I can say that with confidence because I just met with every single IB junior. I just met with 60 students one-on-one, about 15 to 20-minute meetings after the first quarter ended to check on the juniors' progress. It's their first marking period doing IB. And they're thriving really well. Our junior cohort is, they're definitely thriving. They're really good at time management, and they've been doing really well. So yeah, students really love the challenge, the smaller learning community. They also really love the challenge of, they sometimes complain about this, right? About how hard IB can be, but looking back, they tend to have a lot of pride in the work they've done, and the critical thinking that IB's encouraged them to do, and tend to feel quite prepared for college. I have so many students come back telling me how college is either easier, or if it is harder or hard, they feel quite ready for it. And they're surprised by how many of their college peers have not done the amount of writing that they've done, or know how to do independent research in the way that they know how to do, and it's because of IB at Central. So I'm going to jump ahead. How does your student know if IB is right for them? Basically, I put this up on the during my interest meetings with sophomores, and if they say yes to all of these or most of these, then I think IB is right for them. If they prefer thinking critically instead of just, kind of rote memorization, if they prefer, connecting their subjects, finding connections between their subjects, the IB literature class for the seniors was reading a couple of novels, one by a Somali author, one by a Kenyan author. We had read Frantz Fanon's Theory of Decolonization in my class, and the students were using what we read in my history class in their literature Socratic seminars to analyze the text they were reading there. So, the connections between the subjects, smaller learning community, opportunity to pursue your own research questions, college preparation. If they want all those things, they should really consider IB. This is once students get accepted, I have them look over these 5 things because committing to the IB program is a 2-year commitment. It's a commitment to be challenged and stretched as a learner. A lot of our students report a big jump from sophomore to junior year, but they also report a lot of support from the teachers to make that jump and to make that transition. Our teachers in the program, I'm proud to say, are quite supportive, and students feel that. There is a significant portion, it is a priority. Doing the IB diploma program is a student saying academics is a top priority for me. It does not mean they have to erase all their other priorities, but it does mean that sometimes our students are overcommitted, and they might need to, I had a student drop an after-school program outside of Central so that she could commit to debate at Central, to IB, and to the Muslim Student Association, right? She made a commitment to, those three things, but she had to drop one other thing, right? So sometimes students have to evaluate their priorities when they join the IB program. And it's a cohort model where we want students to really be supportive of each other. Uh, how do students apply? This is where I'll close. The admissions criteria is four things. We're looking for strong academic performance. That's primarily A's and B's, right? In their 9th and 10th grade class that we're looking for. We're looking for students who seek academic challenges in their 10th grade year. That's a mix of maybe some honors classes, maybe an AP course or two. Does that mean students who don't take any AP 10th grade should not apply to IB? Absolutely not. They should definitely apply to IB. We have some students in IB who did not take any AP classes in their 10th grade year. Students should maintain consistent attendance in 9th and 10th grade. This is a big predictor of success, not skipping class. I look over that closely. And students, we're looking for students who embody and seek to develop these IB learner attributes, and I'll show you the profile in a moment. These are the four kind of holistic criteria that I look at together. That third piece, the attributes in the IB learner profile. This is the IB learner profile. It's from the International Baccalaureate. 10 characteristics we try and cultivate in our students, anywhere from being an inquirer to being caring, to being balanced and open-minded and critical thinkers and communicators. We ask for our sophomores who apply to write a personal statement. It's a requirement to apply to the IB program. The first part is a 300 to 400 word story, a piece of writing where students tell a story rich in detail that illustrates how they embody one of these 10 characteristics, right? And then part two is shorter. It's a 100 to 200 word a piece of writing where students choose a second characteristic from this same list and explain why they would like to grow in that characteristic and how they might do so. So it gives me a sense of, a little bit about how the student writes, but primarily gives me a sense about how the student is reflecting on their journey, which is an important piece to kind of figuring out fit for the IB. So that is where I will end it. I will stop sharing, take a look at the chat, and see if there are any questions that anybody has. I'm gonna start backward or go most recent and go backwards. Seen some info on college scholarships. Yeah, so that 45 points, it's really hard. I'll because each of the six subjects are graded on a scale of 1 to 7. Uh, Only 1.5% of students globally got a 7 in IB history, higher level. Over the past 3 years, we've had anywhere from 1 to 3 students scoring a 7 on IB history, which is pretty cool, but it's really rare. Some subjects, it's a little bit more common to get a 7, but so if you're thinking about that, how rare that is, yeah, it's pretty hard to get over a 40 point total. I think the highest I've seen in my time at Central is 42 at Central. We've had 40, I remember a student my first year who got a 42. 38 is really excellent. And we tend to always have a few students who get around 37, 38, 39. Yeah. But the diploma is not the most important thing. I've had students who haven't earned the diploma who are wonderful students and it doesn't affect things at all. And they had a wonderful time and they walk away with all the benefits of the program as well. When the students take the IB Arts course is just mixed with it. Yeah, so the IB Arts course, we've never had enough students sign up for IB Art to create our own section of IB Art. So those students are rostered with the sculpture class and they don't have to do the sculpture work. But during that time period, they are, because it's such an independent class, what they are doing is doing a lot of independent work. And once or twice a week, the art teacher will kind of do certain demos with them. Every week she'll check in with their progress, provide them some support. There's a lot more support junior year if they're doing the 2-year art course, and then a lot more independence senior year. But that teacher is floating between her sculpture class and the students during that time. Yeah. We have some excellent art students this year who are doing great. And I think that's I think that was it. The two questions. There were some questions that Esther, you had submitted on email. I can answer those in a moment, but are there any, did anybody else have any questions while I was presenting? Right. There are some that you submitted by email. I think we may have answered some of them actually. Um, uh, One question, yeah, so we have about 100 applicants every year to IB, and we accept 60 students. I think there was a question related to that. Yeah, there's a hand up. Why don't you jump in?
Hi, thank you. So I thought I'd heard that IB, and maybe I'm misremembering, was it also offered the opportunity to take classes at a local college university that was part of the program. Am I mistaken in that?
Probably two things you're thinking of conflating together. So our IB students or IB diploma students take all their classes at Central. We do have dual enrollment programs that some of our Central students participate in, both with LaSalle and with CCP.
Okay,
And every once in a while, there are a couple of IB diploma students who participate in one of those dual enrollment programs. I will say that Central IB program courses are more challenging than the LaSalle and CCP classes. We
interesting.
do
Okay,
also have some students who participate in Penn's Young Scholars program. So we sometimes have a couple of students in IB who are taking, I have 2 or 3 juniors right now who are taking classes with undergrads at Penn this fall semester. I think they just started taking their finals. So we have some programs like that, but that's not part of IB Diploma. That is students signing up for additional programming.
got it. Thank you.
Yep. Um, there was a question about AP versus IB pros and cons in the email, I believe. So, uh, AP and IB both, as Ms. Snyder mentioned, both carry potential for college credit. It really depends on the college and the departments at the college. I would say, like I said in the presentation, like IB's pro is demonstrating your learning over time. Most AP courses, with the exception of AP Seminar and AP Research, have one exam on one day, and that's your score. IB, you have exams over 2 days. So if one day doesn't go as well, you have another day, but then you also have a project that's externally monitored and assessed and is done over the course of a month or so for each subject. So I think that's one of the pros for IB. As Ms. Snyder said, AP has the pro of so there are some AP classes we just don't offer in IB. AP Computer Science, we don't have that at Central for IB. So there's certain things like that. Um, uh, there was a question about a time frame for if you could switch out of one track and if it's not a best fit. Students who get accepted into IB, they have a decision to make in February. Applications due January 31st. I make a decision within a week. Students receive emails as to whether they got accepted or not. They need to decide if they want to accept my acceptance, and that's where they should really make that decision. If they decide it's not right for them throughout the rest of sophomore year before junior year, they can make that decision, and I'll pull someone else off the wait list. They can make that decision, through the summer. There's ad drop at the beginning of junior year, but we really discourage students going into IB diploma to, if they've had a lot of time to think it through. After ad drop ends, there's no chance to drop IB diploma and get into AP classes. Zero chance for that. After junior year, ad drop ends. So, there's that. Any other questions? I think those are all the questions that were asked in the email Esther sent.
Mr. P, thank you so much for sticking with us and giving us that great presentation. If anyone has additional questions, Mr. P is your contact. So if you wouldn't mind just putting your email in the chat if you didn't already. Or you can always send questions to info@centralhsa.org, and we try to make sure it goes to the appropriate person if it's not IB specific. All right, so that brings us to our updates. I just asked, I don't think there's anyone from the Associated Alumni on our call, so I'm going to skip over their slides, but just If you haven't seen the Leading the Way campaign video, find it. It's on their website. It's really cool what they're working on, and just, consider donating to that campaign. I'll make sure to share it out in our listserv. Um, and then I think that brings us up to Nina. I'm gonna pull up the slides, Nina, if you wanna get ready for a treasurer's report.
Sure. We can get the slides up.
Go.
I'll be quick because I know we don't have much time and there's lots of updates and stuff to go through. All right. So just quickly, here's, you can see our balance on our account as of the beginning of November was around $50,000. It was a very quiet month for income. It does not reflect any Giving Tuesday. Funds that have been raised, and which we'll have an update in terms of that amount on the following slide. And that, we've just continued to move forward with our funding priorities, which includes the departmental grants. We did, as well as sort of school support. And in this particular month, we did the staff report card lunch, since they were there all day, doing report cards on that Friday. And then, of course, the usual business of keeping our organization running. And in the photo here, you can see this is from Stephen Imarato, who is our IT tech lead, and he used his departmental grant funds to put up a new TV outside of his office for students, and it flashes a whole bunch of really helpful information about office hours and how to use those laptops, et cetera, et cetera. So this is just one example of sort of what these departmental grants help to support.
And that message is very important on that TV screen. I know that there are kids.
I learned something new when I saw that slide.
Yes. Okay.
And then I think the only other quick thing that I would mention is I'll hit the 1 and 2, is that in Spiritwear to date in this calendar school year, we have sold over $23,000 in merchandise, which includes the parent gear sale. So I hope everyone who got parent gear, you're super happy with it. I was really pleased with how everything turned out. And that the interest in a quick holiday sale, we decided right before this particular meeting that we're going to do a quick pop-up sale where orders will be accepted through Sunday coming up, and that orders will be available for pickup probably on Tuesday next week. So in case any last minute holiday shopping, we do have extra grandparent tumblers and parent tumblers available. So look for that email to come into your inbox with the order form shortly. All right, Esther, you can take the rest.
Yeah, thanks, Nina. All right. So Caring for Central campaign. If you've ever gotten a chance to look over our budget, we count on getting about $10,000 of individual donations. That's our goal this year, in order to really fund all of the different things that we do. So starting on Giving Tuesday, we kicked off the Caring for Central campaign for this school year. We have raised about a third of that, $3,725. So thank you to everyone who donated on Giving Tuesday and the days after that. Like I've said, if you've seen the emails, and you probably have if you're on this call, it just takes $5 from every household in Central to hit to surpass really that $10,000 individual donation goal. So if you are able to even donate just $5, we have PayPal, Venmo, Cash App. You can send it that way. If you do have, an ability to do a monthly donation, you can set that up on PayPal to just go out on a monthly basis. Like I said, the cost of a cup of coffee from your favorite shop really would go a long way to making sure that we can do these projects that you see below. So we do about $40,000 this year, and really I think last year too, of department grants. We increased our amount from $1,500 for the grants from a couple years ago up to $2,000. So each academic department can use that for their department to purchase either, software or books or items or that they might need, and supplies. And so it really benefits our students directly. We also allocate those grants to the Student Government Association, the Health Center, Counseling Department, and then we also support the classes so that they can really put on class activities, um, and not rely too much on having to do their own fundraisers. Our senior class does get $5,000. In the past, we've done valet parking for prom. We've done cheesesteaks on the yearbook distribution day so the kids can hang out, get a cheesesteak, get their book signed, and all of that on the Great Lawn. And we have great class sponsors who do a lot, especially with our juniors and seniors. And then, of course, we have our teacher and students events that we do every year. And there's usually one kind of big project that we get from admin, maybe two. This year, one of the things that we have discussed is getting permanent outdoor furniture. So during when we returned in 2021 to in person, but there was still social distancing and all of that, the HSA invested money into furniture outside, but it was not cemented, so it did move around a lot on campus, which caused a lot of wear and tear. So we're looking to put in some outdoor furniture that they can't drag around and stays in one place. So that's where your money goes to. And it's really, really helpful if people, do the individual donations and also attend our spring auction to support that. All right, Terry.
Yeah, really quick. Next week we have the winter concerts are coming up both on Wednesday, December 8th and Thursday, December 19th. For events, we usually do make sure that there's additional soap in the bathrooms that are going to be most heavily used. So if I will send out a request on the Google group listserv for volunteers Wednesday, especially if anybody's coming in to can come in a little bit early before the concerts. You need adult male and female and student male and female to access all the bathrooms on the first floor. And we did Thursday, November 14th, a outside cleanup as well as a Soap Central ahead of report card conferences on the 15th, which was very successful with student volunteers. I didn't have any parent volunteers, so for future cleanups, definitely looking for more parents. And we're coming to the end of the year where I just want to remind everybody that the community service hours early submission, the reduced number of hours, is January 6th. So collect your hours and make sure you have your documentation if your students are going to submit their hours early. Thanks.
Thanks, Terry. Rita. And I know Rita's running around because she's always
I'm here. Hold on,
to
hold
another.
on.
There she is.
Hey, everyone. Good evening. Reporting for the Anti-Racism Network. We will actually have our meeting in January starting next year. It will be on the second Sunday. And we'll be meeting to discuss the scholarship that we produce. So this will be actually the 5th year that the ARN has provided and will provide a scholarship to a graduating senior to support them in the efforts that they do. So we'll be meeting to discuss what we'll be doing. Last year we did sweets for scholarships, and we're able to do kind of baked goods as we partnered with a local bakery. So we'll be discussing what that looks like for us this year, and also looking to see any other way that we can support Central and or provide a speaker for upcoming HSA meeting. Thank you, Esther.
Yeah, thanks, Rita. Okay. So this is my every month plea to those of you out there that we need support to help run the HSA. So we are looking for a committee chair for fundraising and for hospitality. So if you are willing and able to dedicate a couple hours every month um, to doing this, it really helps make sure that all of these wonderful events that we have, like the spring auction, like teacher appreciation week, go off without a hitch. Um, and some months are busier than others. Hospitality, for instance, it's really just on like those 2 or 3 months out of the year where we have an event that organizing the catering order and making sure that the logistics are worked out with the school. Fundraising, the big thing is the spring auction, making sure to lead that committee and getting things done for that. And then as Terry mentioned, it's always great to have people help with beautification, cleanups, being on site for those. And then supporting the parent class reps. We like to have 2 reps for our classes so that if Debbie or Amy need a break, they can get a break, or if they're not going to be present at the meeting, you can present, or just doing that second outreach to the class sponsors. The other thing I want to plug is the school advisory council. Rashida Polk, our FACE liaison, is working to start a SAC. There are a few parents who have filled out the interest form, attended a meeting with Ms. Polk, sent in their bios for elections, but we do need a few more people to really step up for that so that we can have elections for the different positions and get the SAC started. She is going to host another meeting in January. So I am going to share the interest form again. And if you are interested, please consider signing up for that. If you liked what, AP Snyder and AP Myrick were sharing towards the beginning of the meeting, like the ClickBAM data and all of that, if that's, something that you're interested in hearing more about, talking more about, and really strategizing with school administration on how to improve and how to continue to grow those things, the SAC is the place to do that. So it's an additional parent group where we can spend some time like really talking about and tackling those kind of like um academic and climate areas, whereas the HSA we don't have the capacity to really do that. So having these 2 groups is going to be really helpful for the school. All right, that takes us into our class rep presentation. So Amy.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yep.
So the first thing I'd like to say is if you are planning a college visit, to make sure you get your forms from Mr. Horwitz and have them filled out. You need your teachers to sign them and your parents to sign them before you go on your visits. That way it'll be an excused absence. Our yearbook dedications are sold out. I don't think they ever sold out before. They sold out very quickly. If you have any questions, please reach out to the yearbook adult that I have up here. And I'm also going to put all of this in an email so that you can click on links and you can read this again to see what's going on. We have one more order that's going out for the cardigans sales due on the 15th of December, and then that will be it. Your kids can see sample sizes and try them on in room 207, and you will complete a form to fill that to get your cardigan. And again, that will be in the email. This Monday night from 6 to 7:30 in the auditorium is financial aid night. So if you are having trouble filling out your financial forms, or you have questions, please come to this assembly for adults, and your kids can come too. We have numerous scholarship programs. This is one example. There's many examples of this. One includes writing an essay, and then there's different levels of money that are given out. You can go to the next slide, please. And then also there's many other scholarship opportunities, and I'm going to attach an entire newsletter that you can click on, and it has all the different scholarships that you can apply to. Please save the date for Valentine's Day, which this year is on a Friday, for the ski trip. More information will be coming out about that day, but it's an all-day trip. The kids ride a bus there and back. We need chaperones. Please reach out to Ms. Zesserman if you would like to chaperone on that fun day. There's an essay contest where you can win different money that will also be listed in the email. And we have Central's Got Talent on January 10th. Students can apply to be a host or a judge for this. If they go to their 284 page, you can fill out a form, an application to apply to be a host or judge. And Central's Got Talent is a talent show for the faculty. It's the faculty talent show. And I think Anything Goes was already brought up, so I'll skip over that. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. All right, Debbie.
Hello. I can make this bigger because I can't see it. Sorry, my computer is messed up. Still can't make it bigger. Oh well, I tried. Okay. I can't make this full screen. I don't know. It's not letting me. Okay. So a lot of these things Amy just went over, but she didn't go over the first. So we have 285 goes ice skating. It will be Friday, January 17th. It will depart after fifth period. It will be at Dilworth Park. If you want to go, you should do it before January 5th. Get your tickets because it'll be $5 less. It'll be $20 before and $25 after. They do get their rental included, hot chocolate and ice time. They're going to take the Broad Street line. And there are parent chaperones needed. I can't go. My daughter has a swim meet. So please, people go and chaperone. Class dues we're still collecting. Community service you've all heard about a few times. Spirit Week and door decorating the information will be shared next week. And we've all heard about the Central Night at the Phillies. Please get your tickets soon before December 22nd or the price will go up. And I think I have another slide. Okay, 285 merchandise. Orders will be distributed before the holidays, and Mr. Horwitz has said that there will be limited merchandise still available to purchase next week for people who have not already purchased. So please do so. Midterms, January 13th to 16th. You have to have a doctor's note approved by administration if you're not going to be there, if you're absent. Has to be approved by administration, not just a doctor's note. Winter concert we've gone over before. The ring ceremony is January 27th. I don't have any more details on that, but the kids know about it. The musical is January 28th, 30th, and 31st. And then here are all the no school and early dismissals, except for this Friday. We also have an early dismissal this Friday. Don't forget anyone. And other than that, all the dates are here. And I think that's pretty much it, unless anyone has any questions.
Thanks, Debbie. All right. Rachel, I can't remember if she said she wasn't going to be on. All right. So I'll go through these. The link for the t-shirt sale is live. I think it closes tonight. So I will resend as soon as this meeting is over in case you don't have it. There's a flyer for this summer program. And there are tutoring opportunities being offered by the Students of Color Association. So this is probably on your students like class page, so they should have like a 286 class page. But it looks like Mr. P is also involved with that. So we have his email address if you need more info or want to know more, just reach out to him. Okay, and we have flyers here. So there is the scope program. I see this is a little small, so I think what I'll try to do is send this out with what I send with the link. But it looks like the application deadline for this program is January 13th, so students have about a month for it. And then this is the tutoring schedule that's available. So I think that might be useful for everyone to have. So I'm going to send that one out. All right. I think that brings us to our last class, our 287s. Tara, Renee.
Hello, everybody. I'm Renee. Tara is actually attending her child's game today, so she wasn't able to join us. But she was kind enough to put the slide together for me to present for you guys. When it comes to the high school transition, I believe she told me that Mr. Myrick was going to speak on that, so we can circle back to that if that is correct. As far as the open campus, it's just a reminder that this is a privilege and to remind your children to respect it, make sure that they're staying like on school property and things like that. As far as tutoring and midterms, you're going to see them on slide 25 and 26. And then also for the course selection, they will be focusing on that in the next meeting. I do have a few other updates from our class sponsor. He did want me to let everybody know that the t-shirt order has been submitted and that we can expect to see them coming out and going to the students in January. Also, there will be more information coming out in regards to midterms since this is the first time a lot of our students are seeing them. And then he also wanted me to give a reminder stating that in mid-February, they're going to have an assembly so that kids can get a better understanding of the school selection. And that is what I have for you guys for the class update of 287.
Thanks, Renee. So yeah, I think we have a little bit more.
And I can jump in to kind of fill in where Renee left off. So back to high school
Awesome.
transition. So I go to what are called ninth grade on-track meetings. And one thing that we discussed last month was the concept of academic identity and how for some of our ninth graders, when they came to Central, the way they saw themselves academically from eighth grade is beginning to shift. So our goal is to make sure that we remind our students that, this is a transition. It is Central. It is difficult and that you do need to learn how to self-advocate and also how to speak up for yourself when you do need help. As a ninth grade AP, please, please, please tell your students to come by and see me. If you need to call the school, send me an email. Please do not feel like it's a bother. I have talked to parents about things like my child doesn't know how to make friends to we just had a very serious loss in our family. So whatever the topic may be, I'm here to support your students as they transition to Central High School. We want to make sure that everybody is doing well academically and that they're also enjoying Central High School while they're in school. A lot of kids do need tutoring. Here's our tutoring schedule on the screen right now. You can always take a screenshot. We have tutoring from peers, we have tutoring from teachers, and we also have tutoring that is by appointment from teachers. Some things happen during advisory, but there is nothing wrong with going for tutoring. I hear a lot of kids say, I'm embarrassed to admit I need help because I've always gotten straight A's. But there are a lot of kids at Central who do need that little bit of support when they transition. And there are a lot of students who want to support 287 as they come into Central High School. We can go on to one more slide and I'll try to get through these as quickly as possible. And I think the next two slides are about the midterm schedule. All right, so midterms are the 13th through the 16th of January. And the next slide will give you what the schedule is. So they're not going to be regular school days. And if you look at the slides, there are two midterms a day, with Thursday being period six and the makeup. So if your student does not have class during one of those periods, they may have a lunch second period. If you send in a note, your child does not need to be in school during that time. You're going to get a letter from the school that details all of what all this means, because we want to make sure that everybody knows that midterms are serious at Central. They count for 20% of the second marking period grade. And the schedule is on the next slide, and I'll explain what the expectations are. So by January 6th, every teacher will send their midterm to the SBTL, which is like our department heads, and they've got to have it approved by an assistant principal. And then students will have a study guide that they will, so that they'll know what's on the midterm. There can be nothing on the midterm that teachers have not covered, and it's everything that they've learned from August up until this point. We encourage your students to stay on top of things, and they are allowed to, they can brush up over the break for the midterms, but teachers are not supposed to give any homework before the break. So if your kid says we don't have any homework over the break, they are correct. They're not supposed to get any new assignments over the break. Take the time to relax, focus on your mental health. But we know some of our students like to stay ahead, so they are able to study for the midterms if they so choose. We're going to hope to get those study guides out as soon as they come back. But for right now, everything that they've been learning from August up until break, all of that can be on the midterm, but the more formal study guide will come out when they come back from winter break.
And Mr. Myrick, I think we have the same slide twice, so that's
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah, so I have this one twice, the midterm schedule, so maybe one got replaced wrong. So but we'll if you want you can update it later and then I'll send it out to everyone.
And families will get all this information sent out in a document.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone who's stuck around. As a reminder, our January meeting is gonna have AP Snyder again. She's gonna talk more in depth about the course selection process ahead of the February meetings. It is that week of midterm, so people might have questions about that. We did move it to the third Wednesday, because the second Wednesday is when we come back from winter break. So I wanted to make sure that staff and families had a little adjustment period coming off of the winter break before having our meeting. Those are our other meetings that we have scheduled for the end of the year. And I think we have talked a lot about the upcoming dates and events, but as a reminder, Friday is an early dismissal day. We have those winter concerts, we have winter recess, um, and the midterms coming up after that. So, I wish everyone a good night. And if I don't see you or speak to you, have a wonderful winter break and holidays if you celebrate any of those coming up. Okay. Um, I don't know. I'm gonna just check real quick the chat before I sign off.
I did respond to two that were in there. Midterms are 60 minutes each. Students who need accommodations will get additional time. And you can email Mr. Julien about any 287 t-shirts, jjulien@philasd.org.
Okay, awesome. Thanks again. I am gonna do my best to upload this video as soon as possible and the slide decks. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you all. Happy holidays.
Good night.
Yeah, bye.